bounces on the inside of McLaughlin. McLaughlin goes on the high side.
Big question coming in tonight is who's going to go to the high side. The answer is 3 cars crashing at the back, including, looks like Roman Grosjean in the 77, one of the Meyer Shank cars. Oh, that's David Malukas in the 66.
The Gamebridge Honda leads the field to green, but watch McLaughlin in that yellow and white XPEL Chevy. He goes the high line.
Not afraid to send it high, but not quite as much grip. A little bit slow off. That's going to allow Alex Palou in the red and yellow DHL machine to close up. Not enough, but man, I'd say that Scott looks pretty racy early on.
Caution is out, and it is for the One Cure Honda of Graham Rahal, who is slow on the apron, and look at that front right.
Looks like
there's like something in the driveline shattered. I don't know.
Everybody's coming to pit lane, lap 84, Georgia. This puts him into that 2-stop scenario.
It's open and they are all coming down pit lane. Joseph Newgarden is going to bring the two to the attention of his crew. He has been battling a vibration that's been getting worse, but those sticker blacks are going on. A small wing adjustment to Dylan Welch.
John Dixon happy with his car pits from first, clear in and clear out. Nobody around him on pit road. 4 tires and fuel, Kevin.
Colton Herta said the tire wear is really picking up. He thinks it'll get better as the night goes on. He wants a tire pressure adjustment. Let's watch the race on pit road. And it's going to be Scott McLaughlin, maybe by a foot on the outside, almost even between McLaughlin and Herta as they hit the exits.
Look at Dixon in that orange and blue PNC Bank Honda, and Herta defends and then goes on the attack. Herta on the inside of McLaughlin, wheel to wheel through turns 1 and 2.
But McLaughlin saw the sweepers working. He knows the track is clean to the high side, and he'll stay there.
It was the high side he tried on the first lap. Didn't quite make it work, but great work on this restart to roll the speed around the top.
Colton Herta has been begging for a stop, so he got enough laps in. So we're down to 75 to go. Should be no problem. Let's watch and see. And maybe the undercut. Pitting first, if he can get some clean.
Oh, no!
Evan, Alex Palou, the championship leader.
And that is terrible for Colton Herta. That's going to put him a lap down.
Scott McLaughlin, the leader, has been desperately wanting to win on an oval. This is the money stop, the last stop for everyone. Pato Award is further down on pit road, so this is going to be a race-off. Which pit crew is the best? And Scott McLaughlin is going to beat off Pato Award, Scott Dixon, and then Joseph Newgarden comes out 4th in this crew.
Look how many Newgarden leapfrog. McLaughlin gasses it up, gets a little squirrely. He knows Pato Award, the Mid-Ohio winner from a week ago, is there. Here comes VK on the inside.
VK inside, Marcus Armstrong, and then Armstrong's getting jacked up with Rossi and Ericsson.
Let's talk about Rossi falling back in that pit sequence. Ericsson and Armstrong ahead of them. There goes Ericsson by that green car of Marcus Armstrong. Now Alex Rossi in the orange and white car going to line him up. But behind, that's Nolan Siegel making moves.
Nice work.
Might have an issue in turn 1. Is that a powertrain for Linus Lundqvist? He pulls off quickly as the caution is out.
Let's go. 30 laps to go from here to decide who wins leg 1 of the High V doubleheader.
Nice late restart from McLaughlin. That's Ericsson working the high side around Armstrong. Thought about maybe going on VK now. It's all about Newgarden v. Dixon. Big defense from Ericsson further back into turn 3.
Marcus Armstrong's got lights blinking on the back of his race car. That's hugely distracting. Look at the red light flashing for Kyle Kirkwood, who looked like he had contact with Ferrucci.
Ferrucci on the high side. There's the Sexton Properties machine.
Whoa!
He's not hanging around for anybody. Oh, round goes Herta. Herta spun, and he catches it unbelievably.
What?
Caution is out. What is happening on the racetrack? Armstrong looked like he was coming to pit lane. The late call to stay out on the racetrack. Unbelievable. Loses it halfway. Keeps it going. Armstrong does a great job to avoid him. It wasn't even a spin. It was just a mild drift.
Let's get back to it here at Iowa Speedway.
Okay.
Yellow's out. Somebody might have spun further back. I see a car stopped out at turn 4.
Yeah. 30. That's Jack. Or sorry, that's Ed Carpenter.
Got hit on both sides.
The 30's also stopped. So Pietro Fittipaldi and Ed Carpenter with contact everywhere.
McLaughlin gets the cue to go. You just heard from Kyle Moyer there as they fan out. Ericsson's going on the inside of VK. VK's holding strong. Here comes Ferrucci. Ferrucci high again.
He's got one. He's going for two side by side now with VK. Can he hold it through 3 and 4? No, he backs out and goes down, but another great restart.
Got McLaughlin gets his very first oval win here at Iowa Speedway.
What got it done tonight was the pit stops. The team got me out in front of Herder there, and we should have showed our pace, and that's a big deal today, man. I've been working on that for a couple years. You know, it's takes a lot of hard work, and I got pipped to the post a couple of years ago and it stung. So I'm really stoked for all this whole team, proud of the whole team at Penske, and we've got another race tomorrow. We start from pole, so let's go again.
Up next, it's the Hy-Vee One Step 250, Sunday, July 14th. Watch it at noon on NBC.
And with that, welcome to the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derek Vance, as you see, joining me as usual over there to my, I guess it'd be my right, left, is Michael. Josh will be here shortly. He had an emergency, so to say, nothing life-threatening. At least I hope not, anyway. But yeah, he will be here momentarily. Just got into a stinky situation, and I'm sure he will be able to get himself out of it here shortly and be able to join us. But Michael is here. Michael, what a action-packed, to say the least, at some points, but busy weekend that we had. We're obviously going to recap that here momentarily, and then we'll turn the page later on and take a look at what's coming up this weekend north of the border up there in Toronto. But first and foremost, it's been a week or so since we spoke last. How are things over there in your neck of the woods?
Things are much better here now that we have power back. Lost power last night and couldn't sleep very long. So things are great now. Kind of remodeled a little bit. So that was fun too over the weekend during the in between the races. So yeah, been a good week so far.
Definitely good to hear. Like I said, Josh will be joining us here shortly. In this episode this evening, obviously we're going to look back, review, analyze what took place this past weekend at the Hy-Vee, Iowa doubleheader. Obviously, 2 races there, Saturday and Sunday. We will take a closer look into them. Also, too, as I predicted a couple weeks ago, I said Michael's going to end up catching me in the picks section of this show, and obviously this past weekend helped him out there tremendously, so the cat is out of the bag there a little bit as usual. Mike will join us to look at the betting aspect of what Iowa was last weekend. Hopefully he was able to make some money there, and then preview Toronto, what to look forward to in the betting aspect of things this weekend, and then also to obviously, we'll have our weather report, our weatherman there of the Push to Pass podcast. He will join us to look forward to what the weather's going to be like north of the border up there in Toronto. And then a little bit of news coming today. Obviously, no surprise who this news has to deal with, but you may be surprised a little bit. Obviously who the news has to deal with and the amount of drivers that have driven this car this year. But we'll get to that here right before we close things out. But like I said, Michael, we did have a doubleheader this weekend in Iowa. The great folks over at Hy-Vee, what a tremendous weekend they had in store there in hot Iowa, to say the least. Speaking of the races there on Saturday and Sunday, I think Saturday was probably the more exciting of the two, at least in my opinion, and obviously 2 years. And I see the dog catcher has finally joined us there, so to say. Josh was able to clean up his quick emergency that he had, and he is joining us, obviously, as you see here. Josh, it's been about a week or so. A lot has gone on. A busy doubleheader this weekend, which we're about to get into. But first and foremost, before we do that, how are things over there in your neck of the woods?
Other than traffic and 465 being closed down, making everything make me have to drive 2 hours, leave 2 hours early just to make it somewhere. It's going good.
Yeah, definitely. If I remember correctly, Gilligan's Island, they said it was just a 3-hour tour, but you see how that ended up in with 465 south being shut down earlier, and now 465 north being shut down. Definitely hurting a lot of commuters. Definitely there to say the least. But like we said, it is we have a lot to get into, obviously, and I took a little bit of different approach this weekend. Normally I'll do, my 5 takeaways, but with having a doubleheader this weekend, I thought 10 takeaways would probably be a little over the top there, so to say. So I did write 2 articles for Saturday's race and for Sunday's race. Again, speaking on Saturday's race, the Hy-Vee Homefront 250 there, presented by Instacart. First and foremost, huge congratulations obviously goes out to Scott McLaughlin, the winner. If you didn't, if you weren't paying attention or you're living under a rock, but yes, he was able to bring the Expel number 3 Chevrolet for Roger Penske and Team Penske to victory lane, which you want to talk about a total domination from Team Penske the last couple of years. Spoiler alert, the last 2 double headers at Iowa have been swept by Team Penske. So, no spoiler alert there. But, Scott McLaughlin obviously was the quickest in the lone practice session. That was on Friday in preparation for this weekend's Hy-Vee sponsored doubleheader at the Iowa Speedway. And like I said, guys, Scott McLaughlin coming across the finish line first definitely helped Team Penske continue their stronghold at the Speedway. And as he took the checkered flag there for the Hy-Vee Homefront 200. Now, interesting, I didn't know this, but this is just Scott McLaughlin's 16th oval race in NTT IndyCar and on the NTT IndyCar series, and he finally got his first victory on an oval. So I didn't know that he did not have a oval win before Saturday. This was also his 6th career win, and like I said, with Team Penske, that gives them 4 wins in the last 4 races there. So what a feat that is for that team. Also, too, pole sitter Colton Herta, which I thought really after the as this race got underway, I thought Colton Herta did have the best car, and I really thought that maybe he was going to collect his first win. But as it is for Colton, it just wasn't meant to be. He led the first 86 laps, while McLaughlin kind of just sat back there in the weeds, kind of bided his time a little bit, and then when it was time to strike, McLaughlin ends up beating Colton Herta out of the pits, and as they say, everything else is history. McLaughlin ended up leading the last 164 laps, holding off Mid-Ohio winner Pato Award by just 4.814 seconds. As McLaughlin on Saturday, he was able to move 1 step closer to try to pull off the Iowa sweep, as did Joseph Newgarden did just 1 year ago. Speaking of Newgarden, obviously Pato Award second, but huge props, I think, to Newgarden. The 6-time winner there at Iowa was able, from the 22nd starting position, was able to dodge an early crash in turn 2. He was able to maneuver his way through the field to take his number 3 Chevrolet to finish out the podium in 3rd place. So I thought huge props there to Newgarden. Chevy, I think a huge day for them on Saturday. 3 of the top 5 spots were all Chevrolets. So huge kudos to them figuring out, at least on Saturday, the new hybrid engine system there on an oval in a speedway. The first Honda to crack the top 5 obviously was the GOAT there, Scott Dixon in the number 9 PNC Bank Machine, bringing home a 4th place finish. And then another surprise I thought from Saturday had to belong to Rinus VeeKay. Obviously, Ed Carpenter himself was running the oval this weekend, tore up both of his cars, none of it by his own doing, and he had a colorful interview there on after Sunday's race. But Rinus VeeKay in the number 21 Ask ROI Chevrolet there. I know that's Michael's favorite sponsor there, was able to get to pick up his best finish of the year, and he finished P5. So kudos to him. And then something a little bit of a rarity in the NTT IndyCar series that we have not seen in quite a long time. But the 2-time reigning and defending and current points leader, no, that's not Roman Reigns, but Alex Palou. I think Josh is going to be quite familiar with this. I think Alex Palou on Saturday night would like to use a term in the golfing world known as a mulligan. I think on the Saturday race, because like I said, in something of a rarity, Palou in the number 10 DHL Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing on lap 176 would end up losing control of his car, and he ends up putting it in the outside wall to finish 23rd. Now, believe it or not, the 23rd place finish for Palou is his worst in 2+ years. That covers a span of 36 races, when Palou finished 27th in 2022 at Road America. And then something else I didn't know, but guys, with Palou DNFing on Saturday night, that was his first DNF in 74 races. So in his career, that was his first one. He's participated in 74 races. I thought that was a pretty eye-opening stat there as well. And then also too, from Saturday night, as a result of Palou's DNF, his comfy points lead went from 48 points to 37 over Pato Award, which obviously after Sunday's race, things have changed, and we'll talk about that. Will Power was third, 43 points out of the lead, then followed by teammate Scott Dixon, who was 46 points behind, and then the winner on Saturday, McLaughlin, who going into Sunday was down 59 points. So that was my little take on Saturday's race. We'll get to the guys' perspective from Saturday as well. It doesn't matter who starts. Just kind of curious to hear what you guys thought of the race on Saturday.
Michael, you go ahead and lead us off.
Yeah, so Saturday's race was, like Derek said, probably the more interesting race, probably more exciting. There was a few takes I had as well. Palou crashing is definitely one of them. You don't see that very often, especially him just losing it by himself. That was very, very interesting. I also have, and I don't know if you want to talk about it later or now, but I also have an issue with race control and the whole Herta half spin situation. That was just a poor call on their part there, and not throwing throwing the caution is fine. I have no problems with that, because the half spin, if that thing would have spun all the way around, he's running in the top 10, so he's gonna possibly take out some cars. The problem I take is his positioning. He lost one spot to Armstrong, and they put him, I believe, behind Rossi or Siegel. One of the Aero McLaren cars, he put him behind him, and it was never passed by them. So I believe that's a poor judgment call from IndyCar Race Control, and I think Colton Herta was actually protesting his spot. But yeah, overall, you mentioned Rinus VeeKay, a great run for him. For the Ask ROI, I hope they got their return on investment this weekend, because a great looking paint scheme on that car, and hopefully they got their return. So, like I said, pretty good race. McLaughlin winning was really cool to see, especially getting a win on an oval. We'll see what that does for him going forward, as most of the rest of the season is ovals.
Yeah, Saturday's race was definitely more interesting than Sunday's. I'm a big proponent of racing under the lights, and that was finishing up under lights was a cool thing to see. One takeaway I have, well, actually two takeaways I have from Saturday in mainly my biggest one is what exactly happened in qualifying. You had two drivers, Colton Herta and the other one escapes me, that they were given the chance to go back out and requalify again. Of course, Herta did the smart thing and decided not to go back out because he knew that if he went back out and tried to go any faster, that it would give, and he didn't succeed. He'd be giving up a pole on Saturday night and possibly going lower than he did on Sunday. So I thought Peacock and the broadcasters did a good job explaining exactly what had happened, and to the audience that was watching, especially me. I was asking, so I didn't know if Herta went back out, did his previous run get thrown out, and they did explain that yes, it would, and he made the right decision. Now, something that I'm not familiar with, and I guess it's something with this hybrid engine. I guess it's there was something that race control did not give them or did not enact on their car, thus making their car slower. Which I don't know how you could have made Colton Herta's car any slower with being the pole sitter and being in row 2 on Sunday. So that was a weird thing. I don't know if I'm a big proponent of the first lap being your day one, your Saturday lap, your Saturday qualifying, and then your second lap being your Sunday qualifying. I'm sure they would have had plenty of time to be able to go out and do two laps for Saturday, 2 laps for Sunday, but maybe they wouldn't. Maybe I missed something in my brief watching of it, but Herta making the smart decision not to go back out. I'm not sure why anyone in the world would have got him back in that car to even, because from what I understood, had he fired that car up at all, even if he didn't go, if he'd have fired it up, his position would have been gone and he would have had to go out. So whoever was deciding and making the decision on that, shame on you. You should have never even got him in the car. You should have just said, look, we can't really do much better on Sunday, and we can't do any, but the only thing we can do is get worse on for Saturday. So interesting thing that happened. And then also the fact that Palou not finishing the race, that was one of the biggest shocks to me. Palou is one of probably the most consistent drivers of not getting in accidents, and just him hitting the wall and DNFing it blew my mind, the fact that happened. And I know that had to have been weighing on him all night as he went into Sunday's race and put out a good performance. So that was my take. Those were my only takeaways from the Saturday race.
Michael, do you want to explain to Josh as to how with the Herta stuff? And I think Jack Harvey was the other driver that had to go back out, but why that happened the way it did?
Yeah, so it sounds like there was like an internet issue to where their hybrid system wasn't engaging, so they couldn't use the system, or that's where the way it sounded. The whole Herta thing, I think you're absolutely correct. They should have never put that guy back in a race car. Should have just said, yeah. And then let's give a shout out to Jack Harvey. Not, not feeling well, back in all sorts of spasms, neck all messed up. Gets in the car, qualifies. He's like, great, got the car qualified. And then here we go. Oh no, I don't know if it was his choice or not, but man, I would not have wanted to get back in the car the way he looked. And all credit goes to him for at least qualifying the car and attempting to run some of the race on Saturday night. And I think we'll talk about it for night 2 or day 2 later on about who took over for that car. But yeah, with a hybrid system, I don't know if it is like an internet situation, but if it is, then the IndyCar series definitely needs to invest in some good internet. They need to call Verizon and get some good internet from them, because some of these racetracks do not have good service at all. And I'm talking about most of the tracks out in the middle of nowhere do not have great service. So if it is like more of an internet thing where there's too much bandwidth and we can't get the hybrid system online, and it's not, what I don't understand what would have happened during the race if something like this happened. Just is it one car? Does it affect multiple cars? Is it the same system? Does it all go offline and all come back online? So there's Ed Carpenter's comments were great about this whole hybrid system, and I think everyone in the sport understands why we need it and the direction for the manufacturers. But Derek and I talked about it on the way to Mid-Ohio, like why in the middle of this season, why couldn't they do more testing and things like that? So, there's always going to be growing pains, and I think we're going through some of those now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And again, I'm still questioning, and I don't think I'm the only one in that boat that is asking, why this had to be rolled out in the middle of the season, in the middle of a points race. Obviously, you see what it did to Scott Dixon last week at Mid-Ohio. But just a lot more questions and answers at this point. So going to be interesting to see how this looks moving forward. So the results from race number 1 right here, if you haven't seen it yet, obviously your winner was Scott McLaughlin. Pato Award, Joseph Newgarden made up the podium. Then it was Scott Dixon, Rinus VeeKay were your top 5. Santino Ferrucci, Kyle Kirkwood, Alexander Rossi, Marcus Ericsson, Marcus Armstrong made out your top 10. Then it was Colton Herta, great run there for the rookie, Nolan Siegel, who finished 12th. And then it was Felix Rosenquist, Kiffin Simpson, Stingray Robb, who went for one hell of a ride on Sunday, and not in a good way. We'll talk about then Graham Rahal, Catherine Legg coming home 17th on Saturday. Huge props to her. Will Power 18th. Pietro Fittipaldi and Ed Carpenter was 20th. Then it was Linus Lundqvist, Christian Lundgaard, Alex Palou. Yes, Alex Palou coming home 23rd. Roman Grosjean, Jack Harvey, David Malukas, and Augustine Canapino rounded out the 27 entries. So intrigue, I think, is the word of the day going into Sunday's race. Obviously, Alex Palou trying to come up with a better result on Saturday, as a chunk of his points obviously were cut into due to his DNF there on Saturday night. But again, like I said, and this is no spoiler alert here. After Sunday was the second straight year Team Penske ended up sweeping the Iowa doubleheader. Now, I didn't know this, and Josh, I don't know if you would, but Michael, being a historian of IndyCar, did you know before Will Power won on Sunday, huge congratulations goes out to his team, it had been 1,793 days, or for non-math whizzes like me, 4 years and 10 months since Will Power scored his last win on an oval track. That was 2019, if you believe this or not, at the ABC Supply 500 at the Pocono Raceway, where, obviously IndyCar doesn't race there anymore. But yes, obviously that streak can be put to bed for Power in the number 12 Verizon Business Chevrolet, as he used pit strategy to overtake the lead from Alex Palou to win the Hy-Vee One-Step 225 presented by Gatorade, collecting his second win of the season, his 10th career oval victory, and his 43rd career NTT IndyCar Series victory, which, I didn't know this, gives him sole possession of fourth place all time in the sports history for all-time wins. If you remember last month with his win at Road America, he was then tied with Michael Andretti for fourth place. Now he is the sole leader of that. Obviously, the two-time champion Power was looking to bounce back from a disappointing finish the night before at 18th, and he did it in grand fashion. Like I said, taking full advantage of the two-stop strategy to work in his favor to beat Palou in the number 10 DHL Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing by 0.3915 seconds. He now finds himself, Power that is, just 35 points back of the leader with 6 rounds left to go. Now, current points leader Alex Palou obviously was successful in his recovery of what could have been a disastrous weekend for his camp. Obviously, like I said, the night before, he ended up putting his car into the wall, finishing P23. Huge props to the DHL team for being able to get that car repaired, and Palou able to bring home a second place finish on Sunday. Like I said, he's able to recover. He did lead 103 laps, and now he has the points lead rolling into the streets of Toronto this weekend. When you look back on last weekend, if you want to think of somebody that had a great weekend, a successful weekend, I think you got to look at race winner on Saturday, Scott McLaughlin. Obviously he won Saturday's race, and he was able to podium Sunday's race, coming home P3. He was in contention, but I think a caution on lap 101 kind of put him behind the other two cars, Power and Palou there, and he was just unable to recover. He brought home a P3 finish. Now, for the weekend, believe it or not, between both races, Scott McLaughlin was able to lead a total of 259 laps. So, kudos to him. Another consistent finish over the weekend. I touched on it just a little bit ago, but is the GOAT, Scott Dixon, who he brought home a fourth place finish on Saturday. And you talk about Mr. Consistency. Well, he came home with a fourth place finish on Sunday as well. And now, Dixon, if you two didn't catch this, is now in rare air. With the conclusion of Sunday's race, Dixon now has completed the most laps than any NTT IndyCar driver in history, with 54,177 laps completed and counting. So huge congratulations, I think, goes out to Scotty Dixon there on that achievement. And then rounding out the top 5, who I thought had a great car all weekend, just couldn't quite get over the hump there, was Saturday's pole sitter, Colton Herta, who he caught himself in the pits on Saturday night, which took him out of contention, but he was able to rally and salvage what could have been a disastrous weekend for him, coming home in the 5th position. Now, we touched on Stingray Robb, and I know both of you are going to speak on this, but if you haven't seen this video, I would highly advise going to YouTube, the NTT IndyCar Series YouTube channel, and checking this out, because as the checkered flag fell on Sunday's race, a huge multi-crash coming off turn 2 was taking place. Stingray Robb in the number 41 Goodhart Animal Health Centers, Chevrolet, ran over the left back wing of Alexander Rossi's number 7 Velo Chevrolet, which caused Stingray Rob's car to vault in the air, high in the air, vertically. He ends up barrel rolling and sliding on his aero screen down the track. Now, I'm going to touch on the aero screen here in a minute. But while this is all going on, you have Ed Carpenter's number 20 Guy Care Chevrolet making contact with Kyle Kirkwood's number 27 Auto Nation Honda, which ends up spinning. They end up going down to the apron of the track, and somehow Ed Carpenter's car ends up on top of Kyle Kirkwood's car. So just a huge, massive crash to end Iowa. We did receive more updates today on Stingray Rob. He has been cleared to race Toronto this weekend. So thank the Alpha and the Omega upstairs, obviously, for that. And then also huge props to the aero screen. And I know there was somebody in this group that couldn't wait on Sunday to hear my takeaways because he thought the aero screen would be one of them. Well, again, I've done it on here before, but again, huge props. That aero screen, what it's designed for, is for something just what we seen on Sunday, what we witnessed there. Because if it wasn't for that aero screen, I can't imagine the injuries that Stingray Rob would have from sliding on the track surface. I can't imagine the injuries potentially that Kyle Kirk would have had with the Ed Carpenter's car on top of him. So I don't believe there's anybody out there that doubts the design of the aero screen, but if you do, it definitely paid off dividends on Sunday for not only Stingray Rob, for him to walk away from that and be able to be cleared to race this weekend, but also for Kyle Kirkwood to be able to walk away and race this weekend as well. So kind of curious to get both of your guys' thoughts on not only the exciting or lack thereof race on Sunday, but that aero screen coming into full play at the end of the race on Sunday.
One of you guys said, it was probably Derek that said, this race was boring. It was a Texas 1x1, single file, nobody really moving, nobody really doing anything that was of any of any note. Congratulations goes out to the winner, and congratulations also goes to Pillow and his team about being able to get that car back to normal and ready to race within probably within 18 hours of when it crashed. And going back, I had to go back and watch the crash, and any other time during earlier in the creation of IndyCar, some of those people would have been dead. Because the helmets and everything stuck out of the top of the cars. So the aero screen, as I'm watching it again on YouTube, the aero screen is a great thing. It's probably one of the best safety features that's ever been designed outside of the Hans device. That if anyone knows, the Hans device is what keeps most NASCAR, and I don't know, I'm assuming IndyCar uses it, but keeps their head from snapping forward or being able to very move during crashes. But just to go back and watch that crash again, I don't know, it just looked like Rob, like Stingray, he was trying to make a move, and he just somehow, some way, just got up on Rossi's wing and went for a ride. And I can only imagine what it felt like. Knowing that the ground was like this close from your head, from your helmet. So and then for the other car to end up on top of one of the, I can't imagine having you're sitting in a cockpit and you're like, oh God, there's a wheel right here. Oh God, is it stopped? Is it still going? It's an amazing thing. And I'm glad all the drivers involved were able to walk away and are going to be able to race this coming weekend at Toronto.
Yeah, when I think of the crash with Stingray, it sounds like there was a little bit of confusion between the 7. It sounded like he was low on fuel and then was just ran out. And either Stingray didn't know that he was close on fuel or was never relayed that information, because he was still digging. I mean, he was going for it, and which all racers should. Derek had mentioned he caught the back of that wing, and then it was straight up, looked like a roller coaster. The aero screen, by far, life-saving device that's been implemented. A lot of talks about, well, it wasn't designed for this car. Well, that's fine. We'll figure that out in a later car to make it more efficient for the teams and the drivers. But right now, look at how many people has been saved by this aero screen. A couple of times last year, it come into great effects. The Hans device that Josh brought up is another great tool. I can say personally, from wearing one once before, or a couple of times before, they're not very comfortable, and they do limit the head and neck and the mobility within a race car. You got the soft walls, which Iowa is one of the only tracks, if not the only track, that doesn't actually have a concrete wall behind it with the safer barrier, and that's originally how they were designed. Was to not have a concrete wall behind them, but they've made them to where, obviously, with all the tracks that we go to, they're all implemented, and great life-saving device. When we talk about the actual race, I think one of the only drivers that actually made it exciting was Santino Ferrucci. I mean, he was making passes any time he could, high side, low side. He was just going for it, which that probably brings back some of his NASCAR mentality in him. And then another thing I want to just shout out to all the teams. I mean, what a quick turnaround from Saturday night to Sunday morning. I think I've seen a report on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling that platform these days, that some of the Juncos Hollinger team may have only had about 2 hours of sleep. So that's impressive to come back the next day. So hopefully they got Monday off and got some sleep. Just a couple more things that was released today about Stingray Robb. It sounds like from what he said, 104 Gs is what he experienced through that crash, which is insane. I think the typical we see on a race weekend's anywhere between 5 to 7. So that's a crazy magnitude. And then he did pass out briefly after the crash. I'm not sure when that happened, whether it was on the way to the infield care center or in the care center itself. But, like we've talked about, thankfully he's okay. And, he was transported to the hospital. But, all those tests come back and he will be racing this weekend. So I'm excited to see him back behind the wheel. One of my drivers I watch every week.
Yeah, definitely glad he was able to survive that. Again, kudos to Delara. I think they have made this car design the safest that IndyCar has ever been, and that's why I think that they should be able to go to more oval tracks, because this car is more safe now than it has been in years. So, and that was obviously put to the test this weekend for sure with what happened there with Stingray Robb. But looking at the results from Sunday's race, Will Power, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin was your podium, followed by Scott Dixon and Colton Herta were your top 5. Then it was Pato Award, Joseph Newgarden, Graham Rahal, Renus VK. Again, solid finish for him on Sunday. And Roman Grosjean round out your top 10. Then it was Santino Ferrucci, Lunas Lundquist, David Malukas, Nolan Siegel, Alexander Rossi, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Lundgaard, Kiffin Simpson, Marcus Armstrong, Petro Fittipaldi, Stingray Robb, Ed Carpenter, Marcus Erickson, Catherine Legg, Augustine Canapino, Felix Rosenquist, and Connor Daly, who subbed in for Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey having some major, I think it was back issues. I think if memory serves me correctly, he was able to just to complete a handful of laps before they made a call to the bullpen and brought in Connor Daly, and Connor was able to complete about a handful, or maybe a little more than that, before they ended up having a mechanical failure that put him out for the day. So huge props there to Connor for coming in and subbing for Jack Harvey. Now, moving over to the point. Like I said, to Alex Pillow's lead there a little bit it did get taken away, obviously, with his poor finish there on Saturday, but he was able to recover on Sunday. So looking at it right now, you have Alex Pillow, Will Power, Pato Award, your top three. Then it's Scott Dixon, followed by Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Alexander Rossi, Joseph Newgarden, and Santino Ferrucci are your top 10. Then it is Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Ericsson, Christian Lundgaard, Roman Grosjean, Renus VK, Graham Rahal, Marcus Ericsson, Linus Lundqvist, Kiffin Simpson, and Pietro Fittipaldi round out your top 20. Then Stingray Robb and Augustine Canapino, the full-time drivers, round out the top 22 in points. Now, taking a look at this, like I said, we got 6 rounds left to go. I know we got Toronto this week, and then if memory serves me correctly, I'm gonna look at the schedule here real quick. We do have a long break here in between Toronto and St. Louis due to the Olympics. So looking at points right now, fellas, is there somebody that has their eyes on the points championship now, again, with just 6 races left to go, that has to have some great finishes with 6 rounds left here? Like I said, a big gap here from Toronto this weekend, and then we're not back on the track until August 15th in St. Louis. So is there somebody here looking at the points right now that needs to recharge the batteries there for that last 5 race push? Josh, have you go first.
One person that sticks out to me is Colton Herta. I wouldn't say he needs to. I wouldn't say he needs to recharge the batteries, but he does need to. He needs to win a race. He's been so close. I mean, he's gotten poles. He's gotten great finishes. But I think in order for him to be able to make up the 7 points, which I don't even know if that's possible with how Alex Below, outside of Saturday's race, drives so consistently and will finish up there in the top 10 for most of the time. Colton Herta is my dark horse. He's been having success, but he's going to need more. He's going to need maybe a win or a win and a bunch of top 3s to be able to run Pillow down. But I'm saying keep your eye on Colton Herta for a late surge coming from Toronto on to the rest of the season.
Yeah, I kind of circled 3, 4, and 5. Pato Award, Scott Dixon, and Scott McLaughlin. If you look at their oval points compared to Pillow and Power, it's incredibly higher, especially McLaughlin obviously getting the win. And even, if you look at Power, he had the win on Sunday, but he didn't run so well at the 500. So McLaughlin's looking really good on the ovals. Pato is always pretty good as well. So looking at those 2 for sure, and then Dixon, you can never count him out. And then way too far out, I believe, is Newgarden, especially the way Pillow is running. So I would say, yes, I would agree with Josh as well. I think 1 through 6 definitely would stand a chance to catch Pillow. But the way Pillow runs. But on the ovals, you have a little bit more of a chance to get caught up in someone else's mistakes, a little bit more than a street or a road course. So, yeah, I think Pato, and I would say Pato for me and Scott McLaughlin are definitely the 2 that I would circle to kind of make a charge here, especially with the ovals that we have coming up.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I actually was looking at going into the weekend. If Joseph Newgarden was able to pull off the sweep like he did 1 year ago, I thought that would put him in prime position because of what tracks are left. But with him struggling as he did there this weekend, I think that may close the book on Joseph winning the championship this year. You know what? I'm right there. I think Pato Award's somebody to watch. Consistent finishes, obviously winning Mid Ohio, coming home second on Saturday, and a top 10 on Sunday. I think that's somebody. He's got the momentum now. He's got that real race win under his belt, and a little bit of momentum over there at Arrow McLaren. So definitely keep an eye on Pato Award. But we'll get back to talking about Iowa here momentarily. But I do see that our betting expert here has stepped into the room. Mike, had to be a good weekend for you, I would think, on the betting aspect of things. So take it away. And what'd you have? What'd you get this weekend?
Not really. The IndyCar ruined Iowa. I can't. The first race, I guess, was a wash. I had McLaughlin 5-1, which is another winner, which was great. But I had already put so much money on Joseph, thinking it was going to be, a typical Iowa track. I was worried about the repave, a little less worried about the hybrid. So I hedged a little bit. So I'm glad I got the McLaughlin in there and hit a winner, but that pretty much just covered the money that was on Joseph. And then, I told everybody, pay attention race one, because, we can figure out what's going on and then we can make a lot of money on race two. Well, race one taught us that you can't pass, but for in the pits or maybe one lap into a restart after they sweep the track. So basically I unloaded on Scotty thinking, he's not going to mess up in the pits. He's not going to get past and he's going to take this thing home. And then somehow Will Power managed to win the race without passing anybody. So, so that did not have Will Power. I think it started 22nd. So the second race was a total crap show. That didn't go well. The only thing, a couple silver linings, I suppose, if you find, cashed the over Scotty McLaughlin 1.5 wins for the season bet. So that was a big bet that I put out there, April or whatever, but March before St. Pete. So that was good. Cashing the McLaughlin bet to get his 2 wins. And then it was also really good for my championship futures. I heard you guys just talking about championship futures. I mean, I have a future bet. I have Power at 9-1. I have a nice bet on Pato from the beginning of the year and McLaughlin. So Pelot crashing was great. So I was happy about that. And then I need to see some more Pelot crashes in these ovals, and McLaughlin and Pato taking it home, and Power, so the Power win helped a little bit with the points because he's still squarely in the championship hunt. So yeah, the race, it was not an awesome weekend for betting. Pretty much a loss overall. But if you count the futures, then it was a win. But yeah, we move on to Toronto.
Well, it definitely sounds like to me that you're ready to quickly close the book on Iowa, and what you said about with the repave and everything. I don't think you are the only one that is in that camp. Just listening to post race there, and and a couple other things. But yes, do move on to Toronto this weekend, north of the border up there in Canada. If people are unfamiliar, Mike, with who they should look for there in Toronto, what do you got for us?
Well, probably the guy that beats Pelot, which that's you always. But I'm sure the sports books are going to hang him as the favorite right off the top here. So I'm going to stick with the guys that are hot. Like you just talked about, Award's hot. He's got some good track history. He's fast at this track. He's qualified well. Lundgaard, I know last year was pole and won it. I don't see that happening again. He just hasn't had the pace this year. But it is a race where tire strategy will come into play. I don't think the hybrid is going to matter much. I don't think there's too many question marks as far as that goes. So I'm going to be looking to see if I can figure out who wins the pole. But I'm going to go right back to the guys that win. I mean, Penske and Ganassi have won almost every race this year, if not every race. I'm not 100% certain on that. Yeah, I mean, McLaughlin and Pato are going to be my two bets. I'm going to keep riding with those guys. I think they can keep winning top threes and wins, and then we'll see what kind of number they put out on Palou. If it's some sort of high number, then maybe it's worth a while because he is pretty dominant on these tracks. So yeah, same kind of story. Again, we'll see if we can find the pole winner in the pre-qual bets, but we'll see if we get odds from the sports books. I haven't seen anything just yet. And then after that, we'll see if we can find another winner, get back on track.
Yeah, definitely need to get back on track from what happened this past weekend. Anybody else outside of Palou to keep an eye on here before practice on Friday and Saturday and qualifying?
Not really for me, man. It's just, but you're winning money by betting the big boys this year. They're the ones that have been dominating every race, so got to stick with what's working. So, yeah, Penske, Ganassi cars. That's where. Otherwise, those are the to win bets. Otherwise, if you're going to play around top 3, top 5, might be able to find some good long shots there, some matchups if the sports books post them. But yeah, we'll see. I'll be definitely posting on Twitter. You guys can follow and I'll put out every bet I make and everything I see, and we'll see if we can get back on the winning train.
Mike, good stuff as always. Look forward to see what you and Tony have cooked up this weekend on X, and we'll see what this weekend brings.
All right, boys. Have a good night.
Good stuff there. Like I said, bet the top echelon of Indy cars. Basically, what we're going to stick to this weekend. Speaking of picking races, and that is one thing that obviously I can't do, but others can. Others outside of Josh and myself, so to say. But yes, as much as I don't want to show this, I will anyway. Just let him bask in the glories. You see right there our race picks. And as I predicted at the opening of the show, Josh, a couple weeks ago, I said that when Michael joined us, he would end up catching me. And now the lone bottom dweller is yours truly there. Josh still has a 3-point lead, but Michael, with all the momentum there, is in poised to catch him. Going to be interesting to see. Josh going to have to think this through, because you think about it, he is the reigning defending champion of the race picks, so he's going to have somebody nipping at his heels here in the not so distant future. But I'm going to let Josh or Michael, you want to comment on your guys' upcoming battle here to see if you can hold Mike off for the championship.
Derek, you've had some good ones here. Don't send yourself out. You're now tied, and I'm fledgling. I haven't won in probably 5 races, so I'm on as I would say, I'm on a slump. So don't count yourself out. We I will say this: if we would have put our picks together and bet on them, we had the whole podium there on race 1. So that was a good thing. McLaughlin won and gave Mike the win, but we picked the trifecta there. We should have put a bet on it. But I look forward to it. I'm going to do a little bit more research on Toronto. I just went with Newgarden this past weekend because of what he did last year. So I can't. I guess I can't do that anymore. I have to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on. But I thought Newgarden was at least, a safe bet. But congratulations, Michael, on sweeping this past weekend, and you will now be nipping at my heels. And I'm sure Derek's not going to give up. He's going to stick right in there and keep picking along.
Yes, it was interesting for sure. I picked McLaughlin, and Derek messaged, "You want to keep the same?" And I was like, I thought about changing, and I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have went the wrong direction. So glad I stuck with McLaughlin. Mike did make a comment about IndyCar ruining Iowa. I want to let him know. Hopefully he listens back. But IndyCar didn't ruin Iowa. NASCAR ruins all the ovals for IndyCar. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. I've heard a lot of people talking about how IndyCar ruined Iowa, and I wanted to smack everyone and go, no, IndyCar had no control over this. The NASCAR owned track. So they ruined Texas for us. They've ruined Iowa now. We're going to Nashville Super Speedway, so they've ruined that one already. So what other ones did they ruin? I don't know. It seems like every track we go to, NASCAR decides let's ruin it.
Mike, can you allude on that? Why do you think that that NASCAR has ruined these tracks? Is it due to the fact they're repaving them and they're not as friendly to the Firestone tires as they are to the Goodyear tires?
Yeah, I think that has a little bit to do with it. Just the different compounds with the tires, different rubber types, things like that. But if we look at, it takes time for the tracks to age, and that's what was so good about Iowa: the bouncing, the bumps, the tire degradation. Your favorite topic, Josh. So when you can bring, and I made a comment, Firestone needs to bring softer tires next year. It's the same problem NASCAR has. We need softer tires. The tires have to wear out. When you can run 100 laps on a set of tires, it's not good. Realistically, you could probably have ran more. It was just that was when the fuel number come up and they had to pit for fuel, so you might as well put tires on. But they probably could have ran the whole race on one set of tires, which is never a good thing. You need that tire degradation. You want to put it in the driver's hands, because that's where you get to Joseph Newgarden. You get these drivers that can understand, if I save my tires a little bit early in the run, I can push at the end of the run. You make passes that way. You can see things develop. You have the throttle control, and you can see what drivers just went way too hard at the beginning of the run, what drivers have saved stuff. So softer tires, and honestly, just age is what's going to really help bring that track back. The more cars that run on it. I did see a report earlier in the day, maybe yesterday or today, that it does sound like the NASCAR Cup Series is going back to Iowa. So the more track time the track gets, the more heat, the more aging in that asphalt produces that wear, and will really help wear tires harder in the future. But it's going to take a few years, and it does sound like NASCAR might pave the entire track, at least the corners, all the way to the wall. So that'll also play another factor into it in a couple years. You have that 1 year where you have the 2 lanes that has that little bit more age to it versus the next lane up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward with the racetracks and things like that. And also another just quick mention, the PJ1 that they spray down on the racetrack is not friendly to the Firestones at all.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to see what Iowa does. I did hear the same thing, that they may repave all of that as well. So hopefully that's able to open up that second lane that those IndyCar drivers were looking for this past weekend. But we are looking ahead to Toronto here, and we do have our official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast is joining us. Huge thank you to him. Sir, I did finally get the right graphic. So we'll throw that up on screen there. I did grab the right one, but it looks definitely promising for the race this weekend.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on again. That's the right one, and it looks great. Conditions really ideal, right? So I don't think we'll be talking too much about the weather as we get to the weekend. The timing really falls to our favor as we go through the week to really kind of get a break from both the heat and some of the storms we've even seen, from yesterday moving through the Midwest, and even Toronto got hit pretty good with a line of thunderstorms today. But by the time we get to the weekend, we should have high pressure building into the area. That'll set up mostly sunny conditions, very mild temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, very low humidity. So we won't have to deal with that, the the heat index or the feels like temperatures getting much higher than what we've got there, 79, maybe close to 80 as we go into Saturday and Sunday. The one variable that I'll point out is there is a really weak front that wants to drop into the area, into the Great Lakes on Sunday. Right now, it does not look like it's going to be that strong, and then it won't really have any, what I would term active weather with it. So, in the forecast, you can see there, I just had some additional cloud cover, perhaps moving into Toronto on Sunday. That's probably the one thing that I'll just be keeping an eye on this week to see if that front maybe is trending in a different direction to more than just clouds, and if we have to drop an isolated shower into the forecast on Sunday. But for now, it looks like we're going to stay dry throughout the entire event. Bottom of the chart there. Again, nothing significant expected in terms of even the winds. They basically will swing from the south through the west direction and then to the north by the time we get to the end of the weekend. So that's really it. Pretty straightforward forecast this week. Fingers crossed we don't see any major changes as we get closer to Friday.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a great weekend ahead. If there are any changes, though, you will obviously be on top of it. And if you do have to make a change in your forecast, people that don't follow you already, first of all, shame on them. But where can they find if any of those changes are made for this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm over on X or Twitter, formerly Twitter. If you search IndyCar Weatherman, I should come up. And then I'm also post the same products over on Threads because I know I'd have some followers over there too, as that area also builds up a little bit. So keeping both pretty standard between the two sites, depending on what your preference is for getting your information.
Good stuff as always. Look forward if there is any changes to forward them out. But as always, we will talk. I guess we got a break after this, a little bit of a break. So we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
All right, sounds good, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Good stuff there from the weatherman, and like I said, definitely looks like the forecast this weekend definitely going to be promising there to say the least. So can't wait to see if that stays true or not. Before we get to previewing Toronto, obviously we do need to thank our sponsors that make it possible here on the Push to Pass podcast on a week in, week out basis. First and foremost, huge thank you to Always Ready 1776 for all of your patriotic apparel and more. Go check out the fine selection over at Always Ready 1776, and you can check them out on the World Wide Web at Always Ready 1776.com. And if you do find something that you would like to purchase, make sure you use that promo code that you see up there on your screen at Push to Pass for 10% off of your order. Always Ready 1776. Also, huge thank you over to Get 'em Associates for all your home design and remodeling needs. Remember, it's Get 'em Associates, and you can also find them on the World Wide Web at getem.com. And if you do choose to use their services, you can use the promo code again that you see down there on your screen, Push to Pass, for $250 off any design service. A huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Get 'em Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. All right, getting back to the business at hand. Obviously, we just got through talking about what we seen, observed, and witnessed in the Iowa doubleheader this weekend. We are moving north of the border, like I said, to Toronto for the Ontario Honda dealers in Indy Toronto race. Yes, it definitely is a mouthful there to say. This is what the track outline does look like for people that are unfamiliar with what Toronto looks like. This is, again, this weekend, the 19th through the 21st. It is located, obviously, like I said, in the streets of Toronto. This is going to be 11-turn, 1.786-mile street course. The distance is going, or the laps rather, is going to be 85, and the distance is just going to be over 150 miles at 151.81 miles to be exact. Now, looking at the schedule for the weekend right there, everything's going to get kicked off on Friday around 3 o'clock with first practice, and then we'll wait again. Saturday morning, we'll get up early there around 10:30 for practice number 2. And then following that is going to be first round qualifying at 2:45 in Group 1. And Group 2 qualifying is set to take place around 3:10. Then we'll move to second round of qualifying there just a little past 3:30. And then get to that Firestone Fast 6 where we see who is going to be the pole sitter for Sunday's race. And then Sunday morning, we'll all get up after going to church, maybe after church, catch the warm up there at 10 a.m. And then the the green flag drops at 1:30 p.m. So that is what we're looking at for the Toronto race this weekend. Taking a look at some of the active race winners that are going to be participating in this weekend's race. You got Will Power, who is a 3-time winner. Scott Dixon, who is a 4-time winner. He won both races in 2013. Joseph Newgarden, early in his career, he picked up 2 wins, 2015, 2017, and then recently last year, Christian Lundgaard picking up his first win and being able to shave that hideous mustache of his that he had. Active pole winners. You got Will Power, who's collected 2. Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Colton Herta, and Christian Lundgaard have each picked up 1 pole apiece. Michael, Josh, anything else to add here as we preview the Streets of Toronto race this weekend? All right, men of few words. I guess those broadcasting classes are paying off. Okay, that I stole that from Major League. If you guys have ever seen that, so that does it for our preview, and we are about out of time here as I'm seeing the white flag being raised there. We do have a bit of news that does deal with the upcoming race this weekend in Toronto. I know Michael's obviously going to get a kick out of this, but it's and I had to come up with a catchy headline for this, and I was going to steal Mike's thunder a little bit, but I decided, you know what, I'm not going to. I just simply went, another day, another driver. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, as first reported on their social media account X, formerly known as Twitter, former NTT Next by Firestone driver rookie Hunter McElroy will be making his debut in the NTT IndyCar Series this weekend in the streets of Toronto when he climbs into the – anyone want to take a guess as to what car he's climbing into and what race team it is? Is there anybody out there that wants to take a guess? Anybody? No, you guys are all stumped. Huh. Well, surprise, surprise. He is climbing into the number 18 Honda entry for who else? Dale Coyne Racing for the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy Toronto race. McElroy, who is just 24, so him and Josh are about the same age. He just has 2 years of Indy Next experience under his belt. In 28 races, he has scored 4 wins, 5 poles, and 13 podiums, and he finished second in the point standings just 1 year ago. Now, McElroy actually did not or is not participating in Indy Next by Firestone this year. He is currently on the IMSA Sports Car Championship series. So if people are wondering where he is at, that is where he is. As for Dale Coyne Racing, Michael's favorite team, with McElroy scheduled to make his debut this Friday. Now, Michael may know the answer to this. Josh, I'm kind of curious. You want to take a shot in the dark, and I'll give you a clue. The number is under 10. How many drivers, including McElroy, will have raced for Dale Coyne Racing so far in 2024? Josh, you want to take a shot in the dark at this? It's under 10. I'll give you that hint. It's under 10.
I'm going to go with 9. 9? Am I correct?
Michael, what has he won? That is the exact number. Now, I don't know if you read this story or not, but that is the exact number. This will make the 9th different driver to drive for Dale Coyne this season. Now, Josh, I would be highly impressed, not like I'm not already, but I would be highly impressed if you could name the other 8 drivers that have driven for Dale Coyne this year.
I think the only one I can remember is Catherine Legg. I don't know anybody else. It seems
Actually,
like
I think you do. You're just not giving. You're not putting the New York Yankee effort into this. So we're gonna have ready Jack Harvey, Colin Brown, Nolan Siegel, Luca Gietto, Catherine Legg. You got Tristan Volter, Toby Sauer, and Connor Daly. That's the other 8. Hopefully you guys had a program following that at home. But yes, Hunter will make the 9th driver for Dale Coyne this year. So either one of you two, before I see the checkered flag up there, want to comment on this?
It's kind of like they have a dartboard that's like the size of a wall, and they take an intern and they take them into the room where the dartboard is, and they say, "Okay, here's a dart. Now face away, and I'll throw the dart, and whoever it lands on, that's who's going to be our driver, who's going to be driving for us this coming weekend." I just don't understand. Maybe Michael, maybe you can explain it better than I can, or just explain it to me.
No, I don't. I can't help you. I'm just who's in the 51? Do we know who's driving the 51 this weekend, or is it another dartboard pick?
51. Let me think here. So let's see if you have McElray driving the 18. Who's I want to say I was going to ask who's normally in the 51, but I think that's a revolving door too, so that's kind of hard to ask as well. So hang on a minute. Let me go through here because I can't pull this right off the top of my head, and I don't think the spotter guide is
not available yet
or for Toronto. So if one of you two want to pull, maybe see if you can pull it up as to who was in the 51. Well, it was Catherine Legg last weekend. So
right.
Wow.
That's the one they keep bouncing the drivers
notice,
out of.
Do they only enter one car this weekend, or is there enough of a cash flow with these 9 drivers here that he's able to put the 51 on the track? Is anybody want to comment on that?
I don't think they would pull the car unless Colin Brown is running. That's the only one I could think of.
Well, then I guess what we'll have to do is we'll have to keep close eye on that spotter guide this weekend, or even the entry list, to see who is going to be behind the 51. So I'm kind of glad. We're going to have to put a program together to keep. See, I want to tell this story, Josh, but Michael's not going to get it, so it may not be as funny, but you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. We have to keep a program of who's on, Dale Coyne Racing. That's kind of like one of our coworkers' family members. We got to keep a program because we don't know who's who. But yeah, see, I knew you'd get that reference, and Michael's just like, "Oh, shut up." But yes, it is definitely going to be interesting to see who is. I think it's a great, a great who's who is, who's going to be behind the 51 this weekend. Okay, out of the 9 drivers, and obviously you can eliminate McElray because he's not going to be driving. Which one of the 8 well, I guess you can eliminate Nolan Siegel too, and Jack Harvey for that matter. Who do you guys think is going to be behind the 51, the wheel of the 51 machine this weekend?
If I had to guess, it'd be Colin Brown, but I don't think he was slated to run more than the one race that he ran.
I'm gonna throw Catherine Legg out there. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I don't think it'd be her, but who do you remember who was behind the wheel of the 51 at Mid Ohio? Does Michael or Josh, you remember who that was?
That was Toby Sowery, was it not?
I think you're right. I wonder if he'll make a return this weekend. I wonder.
I don't know. Because you said that I don't know. You could have Gieto back behind the wheel. He's run a few races. He ran Laguna. So this is oh, it's like a dartboard, like Josh said. Let's throw more darts.
Yep.
Yep. I think over at Dale Coyne Racing at their conference room, all they have is people's headshots on it, and whoever the two darts stick in there, that's the two people they hired to race this week. It has to be. I don't know how else to explain it, but definitely going to be interesting to see for sure. But that does it. Obviously, for this episode, it's definitely gone off the rails, so to say, thanks to Dale Coyne's philosophy in picking drivers. But huge thank you to them for sending this off the rails. Also, huge thank you to Mike for joining us. Definitely check out his X account, him and Tony Donahue for last late minute betting advice this weekend in Toronto. Also, a huge thank you to the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast. Great forecast, it looks like, this weekend, but stick to his Twitter as well to see if there are any changes. And then last, but certainly not least, huge thank you both to Josh and Michael, as always, for joining us this weekend, giving your insight and analysis. It is second to none. Also, huge thank you to everyone else that follows, listens, watches. We did have another nice number on X this evening and over on YouTube. So huge thank you to everyone for that. Again, for myself and everyone else here that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, we say so long. But we will be back in 1 week's time to recap what took place in Toronto, and then the other two gentlemen and myself will have a nice extended break there as we root on Team USA in the Olympics coming up here shortly. I see Josh is already getting in his Olympic spirit right there. So until next week, so long, everybody.
Let's get ready to go. The high V one-step 250 is away here in Iowa. And Dixon looks on the inside of his teammate, then pulls back.
Side by side, a little bit behind the top 10, it looks like. We see some of the Meyer-Shank cars side by side, teammates off at 2, all single file. Then we see the McLaren teammates side by side into 3.
Looks like the Meyer-Shank drivers are too wide. It's Joseph Newgarden there in that red number 2. Is stalking, looking for his opportunity. He'll go high once again into turn 1.
He just told you, T-Bell, you got to look at what's on offer. Scott McLaughlin is the first of the front runners to pit. Here comes the XPEL Chevy. There were a couple further back that pitted earlier, but Kevy, he's coming your way.
So Scott McLaughlin gets to lap 94 complete. They're going a little bit loose later on in the stint, so they will try to make a slight adjustment to help that, as we've talked about, messing with his tools to try to stay in front of it, Georgia.
Hello, impressive.
Oh!
See a spin.
It's Canapino.
They stay green. This is important. Pelot now on pit lane. Track is still green. Pelot is in.
Pelot's he's got a lap almost on the entire field. Only Power on the lead lap. Because of that, if it went yellow now, he would get a free pit stop. How we're leaving it. There you go, guys. The yellow flag is out. Nice clean in for the 10. Nice clean out, Kev.
And he makes it to lap 100. So if there was any fuel saving, he's not going to have to mess with that at all for a little bit.
Go green, green, green.
Pelot's going to see that green flag here at Iowa Speedway. Let's see how this works out with the first restart of the day.
Watch the yellow and white car of Scotty Mack. There are some lap cars between him and the leaders as McLaughlin looking to pass along with Colton Herta to the high side.
Here comes Dixon on his teammate. Couldn't quite get it done on Kiffin Simpson. Around the outside of Stingray Rob goes Scotty Mack.
Scott definitely taking advantage of the fact that the high line was swept during that yellow, but he's only got a couple good laps to use it as you get up to speed before it starts getting dirty. His teammate Joseph Newgarden with the Estemo on board doing the same thing.
Oh, but Grosjean's coming back. Grosjean saw an opportunity to find clean air and stay low, and Newgarden squeezed in that air from Grosjean.
The driver from Dallas, Texas is on the move.
He's going to do it again right here. Looks high, then fakes low.
Outside.
Doesn't fake, he went low, stays low on Kirkwood.
Very close behind Graham Rahal mid-corner. That took some front end away from him. Now he's going to fire it into three, side by side. These two working it. Ferrucci up 7 spots since the restart.
But Kirkwood has the draft as he comes off the corner. Graham Rahal's car helps break the air, and Kirkwood able to suck up. I think there was contact there. I think I saw smoke off the right rear of Ferrucci.
Kyle Kirkwood digging hard on the outside. He's got a brief moment of clear air there. Ferrucci gonna have to fall back in line. That was great driving. Now Kirkwood attacking Rahal.
Wow, look out.
Let's keep an eye on this stop. Last time it was the fuel probe. A little bit stuck again there. Maybe it cost him half a second. Dylan.
Will Power in at the top of your screen. He ran long on this stint once again. This pit crew won the pit stop competition on Friday. Need another perfect stop here. Will Power down and away, 4 tires and fuel, and a good stop.
Guys, 5.8 seconds for Will Power, 6.1 for Newgarden, 6.0 for Scott McLaughlin. Team Penske dominating. Where does Palou come out?
It's all about the blend on the apron right now. There's Will Power at speed on track. There is Palou. It's going to be to Power right now, but the momentum is with Palou.
Can you imagine if Power can pull off this most improbable win? Look at this. Here comes Alex Palou.
Protect the bottom. All clear.
The 43-year-old Australian is about to get win number 43. Will Power victorious for the first time at Iowa Speedway. From 22nd on the grid, and Stingray Rob is upside down. Massive crash at the end of this race. This is what happened. This is our first look at it. Wow.
Did Rossi run out of gas?
Whoa, that
oh my gosh.
Air time.
Wow.
For Stingray Rob. Something clearly wrong with the 7 of Alex Rossi. Slow off a 2.
And these are just cars that were reacting because Rossi would have been spinning across the track.
Had a really good car, really fast car, so I just sat back and used that pace to save fuel. I've been trying to win this race for years, so over the moon.
Up next, it's the Honda Indy Toronto, Sunday, July 21st. Watch it at 1 p.m. on Peacock.